Hey, hi. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an ETL pipeline which can join two data sets with using AWS Glue. And finally, we're going to see that how this joined data set can be loaded into a target. Here, we're going to see how to load into Amazon RedShift cluster. So here we will have two data set which is present in two S3 bucket. As you see here, we have a two sources, and each sources will have a set of data set, say like S3 bucket 1 and S3 bucket 2. Then here we're going to use AWS Glue service, which is acting as a ETL service here. So in that ETL, we're going to build a job with using the visual ETL job builder, where I will show you like how to configure such a way that it will extract the data from source 1 and source 2, and that is been forwarded into a transformer. So we're going to use ETL job transformer, where actually we're going to use a SQL query transformer. With using the SQL query, we're going to build a run a query which will actually joins the data set from source 1 and source 2, and finally creates an output which is actually the join of data set from source 1 and to source 2. And then we're going to see that finally how we can dynamically load this joined data into Amazon Redshift cluster. So Amazon Redshift is actually working as a data warehouse service, which is actually target here. So we're going to see that how the joined data set can be dynamically uploaded into Amazon Redshift cluster, which is actually the enterprise grade data warehouse service. With using that, you can build the visualization, you can build the ML pipeline, you can use it for reporting purpose. Okay, so there are lots of advantages of Amazon Redshift cluster, right? So here, this is what my design is, and here the main focus is how you can on the fly join the different data sets and create a unique data set or create a summation of your data sets, and finally load into the Amazon Redshift cluster. Okay, so this is basically enterprise grade use cases. Now what I do is I'm going to take you to my Amazon AWS account. So this is my AWS account. Currently I'm in S3 service page. So as you see that I'm currently in a S3 service page. First I wanted to show you the my two S3 buckets. So this is my S3 bucket 1, which is acting as a source 1, and it has a test report.csv file. Okay, so I'm using csv file as a source of data. So I'm going to show you what is the content of that csv file. So if I open this csv file in my VS Code, so these are the contents as you see here. So it contains the column with the name like ID, name, description, email, and a set of data underneath that, right? So this is my source 1. Now I'm going to go back to the another bucket that is acting as a source 2, as you see in the diagram. So here this is a source 2. Basically it also contains the same data but with a different column. You see that it contains column 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so up to 5. Yeah, so what is the aim here is you need to extract the data from these two buckets, and it indeed it creates a two data set, and finally we're going to merge these two data set and create a unified data set, and that unified data set has to be uploaded into Amazon Redshift cluster. Okay, so if I go back to the diagram now, you see that we have a source 1 and source 2 as a buckets. We're going to use the ETL job to extract the data from that, and then finally we're going to use the transformer for SQL, which actually where we're going to run the SQL merge query. Then we will see that the merger of the two data set, and that two data set will be loaded into Amazon Redshift service. All right, so that is about the source. Now I will take you to the my AWS Glue service. So this is my AWS Glue service, and currently I'm in Oregon region. And if I go to the ETL jobs and go to the visual ETLs, currently I don't have any ETL jobs. Okay, now so this is our ETL page. Before that, I wanted to make sure of my destination is ready, because when you are building a pipeline, so if I go back to the diagram, you need to have your source ready, you need to have your destination ready, then only you can build the pipeline in between, right? So without the source and without the destination, you would be building a pipeline but with the imaginary data. Yeah, so I would recommend you to create a source and destination ready, then try to build the pipeline. So my target here is Amazon Redshift cluster. So I have created Amazon Redshift cluster here. So here you see that the namespace of the Amazon Redshift is something like demo workspace, and the work group is demo work group. Because if I open this, go to my demo work group, currently I have made this Redshift cluster to be accessible from the internet. But I would recommend you to make it within the VPC with using the VPC endpoint. Yeah. So if I query this Amazon Redshift cluster by clicking on the query data, so it will take me to a page where I can run the queries. So currently I'm here and I just try to close all. And if I go down to that particular work group and then particular workspace as well. So if I go here, so we have a database called dev. In that one we have a schema public and currently no table in that one. Yeah. And then, so this Amazon Redshift cluster is sitting in a VPC. I'm going to show you that VPC configurations. So this is the my VPC and this is the endpoint and this is the security group. So if I go back to the VPC and explain you how did I set my VPC, I will go to the VPC. So here, this is my VPC and this is the CID range. And then that CID range is broken down into multiple subnets. One of the subnet is being used by, the Redshift cluster. Then if you go to the route table, so I have a route table which is actually has a route to the TGW. Since I am using, to the IGW, that is Internet Gateway. So since I am using the public endpoint of the Amazon Redshift cluster, I need to have an IGW, and that IGW should have a route to the route from internet to that. Yeah, from internet it should have a route to that. In the sense, if somebody wants to talk to the internet, that has to go through the IGW. So that kind of route configuration has to be there in this one. And then I will go back to the, so once you see that we have a target called IGW, so we should have a IGW as well. In the endpoint, so in the endpoint generally, so I would recommend you to keep an endpoint for Amazon S3 bucket gateway, because so when you are dealing with the ETL jobs, so generally the ETL jobs makes use of S3 bucket, and you are connecting the S3 bucket, you are connecting your target over the public internet. So you need to have an endpoint for Amazon S3 bucket of type endpoint type gateway. So gateway is nothing but it will try to communicate to that S3 bucket over the internet. Okay, so you should have the endpoint for your S3 bucket as gateway. This is just an information. Okay, and basically this interface is automatically created, so you don't need to worry about that. Then if I go down to the security group, so in the security group, make sure that you have allowed all traffic for now, since this is a demo. Yeah. But in the production grade, you might need to restrict the inbound and outbound as per your convenience. Okay, so that's about the the Amazon Redshift cluster and its network configurations. Okay, now with that being said, I have already explained you what is there in the source, what is there in the Amazon Redshift cluster, how did I configure. Now let's go to the bread and butter of the demo, right? That is how to set up this ETL job, which will help us to join the two dataset and finally loads the data into the Amazon Redshift cluster. So with that, what I do is I'm going to take you to the back to the my AWS Glue service page, which is currently in Oregon region. So I'm going to use visual ETL because this is very easy and very layman usable kind of thing, which you can use it. But for example, if you are building the ETL pipeline with using your own script, you need to use the CI/CD pipeline like that. Yeah. So I'm going to create a video on that one soon. So for now, let's use the visual ETL only. So I'm going to click on visual ETL, and in this one, I have so if you see here, I need to give a name of my job, that is something like say demo merge. So okay, so this is demo merge dataset. I will just say dataset. So this is my job name. I'm going to click on this nodes, and here first we are in the source. So I need to select my source here. So my source is like Amazon S3 bucket, not one Amazon S3 bucket. I have a two Amazon S3 bucket. So I'm going to use this. This is as a source one. So let me call it as a source one. So let's call it as a source one. Okay, so this one is I need to select my source one bucket. So I'm going to go on a browse and choose the source side. So I have a bucket without a number at the end. So this is my source one. I'm going to choose that bucket and then put /. And in the data format, we're going to use a CSV because I have a CSV file in it. You see that, and the rest all option you can keep it default. And if you go back to the left hand side, where you can see that data preview and output schema. So here to see the data preview, you can use an IAM role which has the access to the to the AWS Glue, access to the S3 bucket, access to the Amazon S3 Amazon Redshift cluster, with a trust belongs to trust relationship belongs to AWS Glue service and Redshift service. Okay, I'm going to show you this role. in a while. So if I go to the IAM service, I'm going to open this service in the another tab, and let's see what is this role contains. Okay, so for now, so currently while it is loading the data, as you see here, it is looks like it is still in preview. We're going to see that what is the content of that IAM role which I selected here, right? So if I select that IAM role, so this is the IAM role I have, and as I said, this is an admin privilege IAM role. So you see that it has admin access IAM role with a certain other policies are also been added. And in the trust, this is very important thing. So you need to make sure that you have a trust to the glue.amazonaws.com, and then RedShift. So you should also have a trust to the RedShift cluster. So if you go to the RedShift is not needed because it is a target, right? So Glue will talk to the RedShift, right? So in that case, Glue should have access to this one, right? But I would also recommend you to have a trust to the RedShift service, trust to the Glue service as well. This is very important in the IAM role. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, if I go back to the our ETL job building page, currently we are in Oregon region, and this is our Glue page. Okay. So we were building demo merge dataset pipeline. So in this one we have a source one, and as soon as I created I have given the properties information of this source one. This Glue job has automatically extracted the data and it has previewed the data. You see that it contains the data in the form of ID, name, description, email, blah blah. Yeah. So and it has also detected that that CSV file. In the sense, if I go back to this one, within this bucket there is a CSV file, and that CSV file has this syntax. So that's what it has identified. This is our source one. So likewise, I need to add one more source, that is a source 2. So okay, I'm gonna name this name this node as source 2, and then here I need to choose the another bucket where I have kept the another file or another data set. So we're going to choose this bucket, and we're going to give a /, and then you need to choose the data format, that is CSV data format, right? And just minimize it. Okay, so then go down, and if you can do like this, that is so it also identified the schema here. And now okay, so you need to just look at here carefully. If I choose the source data set, we have a column names starting with column 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 5. Yeah. And if I choose the source data set, source 1 data set, I have the column name starting with ID, name, description, email, phone, and amount. Okay. Now, so what does this mean? So this means that we have a 2 data set. Now I need to merge this 2 data set and create a single table so that I can load this merged data set into Amazon Redshift cluster. So for that sake, we will go to the so we will go to this add nodes option, and in the transform we're going to choose SQL query. So we're going to run SQL query here, and that SQL query will do a merge of SQL merge option. Okay, so for that case, right now I have chosen the source one, and then it automatically identified this one. So here, if you go to the left right hand side, and there is a transform box. In the transform box, you need to choose the node parent, so another node parent, so that it actually makes two sources as the basically it makes two source of inputs. Okay, so that's the reason you see that now the diagram got changed, in the sense there are source 1 and source 2 are also input to the SQL query. So we're gonna say here SQL query to, so let's say let's call it as a merge data set. Okay, so let me call it as a merge data set name. Okay, now what we are doing is we are merging a source 1 and source 2 data set. For that sake, I need to run a query. So I need to write a query here. What we do is, if you see in the transform option, so here we have so we have this associate an alias with the each input, right? So we need to give an alias to the one each source of information. So for that sake, what I do is, for source 1 I will say data source 1, and then for source 2 let's call it alias as data source 2, right? So what we did is we have given an alias to this each one. Okay, and if you see that down the line there is an option called write an SQL query. Currently we are writing a SQL query, and you see that basically I need to give this name like this. Yeah, so if I give this name like this and refresh it, it should automatically select the source table, right? So our source table are source 1 and source 2 buckets. Okay, so if I go down, right, so if you see here in this SQL query, we are running SQL star from data source 1. So our data source 1 is nothing but it contains the table with the column name ID, right? So if I do also run another query, that is select star from data set, and just move your cursor, automatically it will load the data present in the data source. Now since this transform SQL query is meant to merge the two data set, so we need to write a merge query. So I have a merge query already, I have taken in this SQL command. So we're gonna use this. Okay, so we're gonna use this basically. So now what I do is I'm gonna write a merge SQL query. So let's do like this and see, if the what does it now returns. You see that basically, yeah, there's a problem here. That is, so basically, okay, so okay, I need to change the data source here and there. So this data source one, okay, so let's do like this. So let's say select a star. Looks like, the column values are going here and there. So that's the reason it's throwing the error. If you see that in the data source one, so in the data source one, sorry, there is some syntactical error, so it should be going off now. So there is a syntax. Yeah, this is a select. This is not a just a select. So if you select this one, so in the data source one we have a ID, right? So but my SQL join query talks something else, right? So I will just tell you. So we can write a data source query like this. Okay. So select start from a source one, while source one has ID. So this has to be ID, and then this has to be col 0. Okay, so column 0, then this becomes a correct query. Why? Because our source 1 data contains a column called ID, and source 2 data contains a column called say like column called um, source 2. Okay, so I need to give here, say, a table. This is just a, the SQL query. This is not a much the rocket science here. So now we built an SQL query which actually merges two data set and produces a result. You see that it has produced a result which actually contains the merger of two data sets, right? You see that ID, name, description, email. So now we have left join the another data source, that is column 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 5, and this is the query which did that magic. All right, now with that option, so basically we already built our source data and merged into a single data set. Now we want to load into the destination, that is Amazon Redshift cluster. Okay, so for that sake, what we do is we go to the target option in the add nodes and we choose Amazon Redshift. So this one, Amazon Redshift, is our destination, right? So let me call it as a destination. So this is my destination now, and the node parent is merge dataset. Okay, so now we need to give the properties of destination, that is our Amazon Redshift cluster. So for that sake, what we do is we're gonna go to the right hand options. In the right hand options, you see that, so we're gonna choose the Redshift access type, that is use the direct connections. So right now I don't have any connections. If I show this here, so I need to create a Redshift connections. So for that sake, you can click on create connections. In the create connections, you're gonna choose the connection, access the informations. So you see the database instance, that is our demo work group is a database instance. My database is dev. So if I go to the this Redshift query page, and these are all the data where you can see, right? So currently it does not has any kind of so anything here, right? Okay, so I'm gonna just refresh it, or I'm gonna create a query here. We're gonna see basically database load. All right, I'm just gonna cancel this off. Right now it does not has any table. That's the reason it is not allowing us to show something like this. Yeah, just click on editor. So currently it does not has any table, right? So now the table will be dynamically created and data will be populated. Okay, that's what we're gonna do it here now. So now for that sake, while we were building a connection to our Amazon Redshift cluster, so we were choosing the database instance and we were choosing the dev database. So these are all the informations will be available when you were trying to create your the Redshift cluster. Okay, so when you create a Redshift cluster, you have to provide those data, that is your work group name. So that is your work group name, and the database name will be provided. Okay, so that information is being given here. And then in the credentials type, we're going to use the default credentials, that is admin, and password is I have stored my password for when I built my cluster. So this is basically, this is actually a cluster creation, which I have shown the how to create a cluster many times in my previous video. You can check it, or I believe that you are the expert of creating Amazon Redshift cluster. So for now, I will go ahead with the rest of the configurations. So I have given the username as admin and password as this one. And our database where we are targeting is dev. So basically, if I go to the query editor, so we want to use this data set, right? And our server name is demo work group. Okay. And in that one, we will need to use the dev. So basically, our cluster name is demo work group. And then in that one, we want to use a dev database instance. Okay, so with that information, so we're going to give the name of this is as a Redshift connections only, and just click on create connections with this information. Okay, so when you click on create connections, you see that automatically Redshift connections will be listed. So now I came back to the same build ETL job page in the AWS Glue, which where we were building the the ETL job definitions. Okay, so here in the destination, so we our destination is Redshift connections. In the Redshift connections, we built a connections to the Redshift, and the name is Redshift connections. And now automatically you should be able to select the schema until you have provided right Redshift connection information. So looks like from my side I have given a right connection information, so it has identified the schema that is public. If I go to the editor, you see that we have a dev database. In that one, we have a schema called public. Okay, and then okay, so then here table name, so you can give this table name or say no, so you need to give it some dummy table name, right? So in my case, what I do is I'm going to give the name of my table as something like this. Okay, that is worker list. Say that this worker list schema is something like this. I'm not going to create a table here, but the job will automatically create a table. Okay, so for that case, you can just give a table name something like this, or yeah, so something like this. Yeah, just give the name of your table name just like this. Okay, and then in this one, so in the handling option, so you're going to give this as merger. Okay, so that is in the handling of the data and target table of the date. Handling of data and target table is something we're going to use merger. Okay, so in this one merger, we're going to choose the the ID that is here. So basically, when you choose merge data into target table, you need to select matching key, which is it should be your primary key. Okay, so choose primary key here, and in the rest options you can keep it default. Okay, so with that information, basically we have set our pipeline. You see that it has went green. Now job has to be saved. I'm going to click on save the job. So basically what did I do is we have defined our demo merge dataset job like this. Okay, so currently we used visual ETL to build the pipeline, but this visual gets automatically created into a script. You see that the job script is automatically created by the glue service. Okay, that is how the intelligent this glue service is. So basically, either how to write the script which can automatically convert it into pipeline, it's fine, or you can use the layman, that is ETL, visual ETL job builder. All right, so we built a job now. I'm gonna go back to the job. So basically, if I go to the visuals, visual ETL visual, click on this one, refresh, your job is available now. Now I need to run this job to actually show you that it actually does load the data. So whatever we see that so basically what I'm expecting here is, so we have a source information, that is test report 1 and test report data should be merged, and these merged data should be stored in the Amazon Redshift cluster. Okay, so for that case we need to wait for this job to get completed. So you can also go to the job, click on run, and you see that your job is running, and go to the run insights. So you can click on run insights, where you can visualize so basically you can see the logs getting streamed here in this option. So if you refresh it here, so you can also see that the how does the job is performing. So I'm going to show you that in a while. So basically it will take a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to load the data, so to visualize you the run insights here. Okay, so once this job gets completely executed, we should be able to see a table getting created here in this Redshift cluster, and that table data has to be uploaded with the the data set, that is, the data set belongs to the two data source. Okay, that is test report 1 and test report 2 has to be merged, and that merged record has to be stored in our Redshift cluster. Okay, so if I now go back to this diagram, now you can correlate that, so basically you can correlate that, so we have a source 1, we have a pipeline, right? So we have a source 1, source 2, we build a pipeline like this which actually extract the data from the source 1 and 2, and then we built a transformer called SQL query where we did the merge, and then that merge will be stored in Amazon Redshift cluster. Now we are running this job and we should see a result here. All right, so if you refresh it here, so we should be able to see a table getting created here while the job is running. So if I go back to the another tab, that is our AWS Glue service page, and here you go, right? So you see that the job is succeeded. Right now, if I go to the Redshift cluster and refresh it again, so earlier when I showed you, so there were no table underneath the dev table, dev database. Now we should see a table underneath the dev database. So if I go to the dev database and go to the schema public, which we provided, and then you see that the table got created. Okay, so not only table got created, but even data got loaded as well. So let's select a table, and then so this is our table got created, that is worker list which I gave, and now you can run the query. So we should see the merger of data. Here you go, right? So that's a magic. So basically you see that the our source 1 data set contained these columns, that is with the name, ID, name, description, email, phone, and amount. And then the source 2 data set contains columns 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 4. Now it got merged, in the sense it got merged, and we can realize this particular, how to join the different data sets with using AWS Glue transformers, and finally load that merged data into Amazon Redshift service, which is actually a data warehouse service and which is majorly used as a target in the ETL pipeline. All right, so with that note, I have shown you the things need to be shown in this video. Finally, I can request please to subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. With that note, thank you, thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.